The Dane and Derek Show is an uncensored, unfiltered podcast. Content warnings can be found in the episode description. Hey everybody, welcome back to Dane and Derek. I'm your host, Derek, obviously. By now you probably know that I make movies and play a lot of tabletop games. And as usual, I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Dane.
Hey, I'm Dane. I'm a writer and a lover of music, podcasts, tabletop RPGs, and also movies.
Yeah.
Which, as you can see from today's title, we are going to talk about our top 5 most anticipated movies of this year. Derek, I have a confession.
Yeah.
So our friendship began mostly through film.
Yes.
We did the Boulder International Film Festival together. You know that I have a lot of love for movies.
Yeah.
I have more or less stopped watching them though.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Like I'll still watch a show. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's like my attention span, but I don't think that's it because I can sit and play a video game for way too long. Or I downloaded the Marvel Unlimited thing. And I read all of the Star Wars comics in like 3 days. You know, like it's not my attention span. Something has happened with me in film. I don't know where, but we have sort of broken up. And I don't know why. Like I still go see movies occasionally, but almost exclusively I go with my partner Gracie. It's like a thing. Like we go to the movies, and it's way more likely that I will see a movie if I do that. Otherwise, if it's a movie, it usually has to be a movie I have deep, deep love for, like The Lord of the Rings or the Star Wars films or Moonrise Kingdom, for example, or like. But I don't like the last movie I went and saw that was just kind of like outside of the norm. Wouldn't like kind of was like way more like what you and I used to watch and like do a lot of interaction with was The Green Knight.
Yeah.
And that was also the first one I'd seen like that in years. Like years.
Gotcha.
So like making this list and being honest, was really hard because like I saw a bunch of movies I was like, oh, that looks fascinating and interesting and I'd love to put that on my list, but I also was like, I'm not going to see that. Like I'm not going to see it. Part of it I think has to do with the fact that I don't really have someone to go see them with. Gracie is not an art house film person. Like she just isn't. Like she hated The Green Knight for all of the reasons you and I loved all the reasons you and I really liked it. She hated it on top of hating it for the myth reason. That's just not her thing. So I don't know if it's like I stopped going in college because I couldn't afford it or I don't know. So yeah, this was really tough for me and I'm going to have the most laughable list possible. So I hope you're ready because I was honest. I was like, these are the movies I think I'm actually going to see this year.
You know, I think that's good because it means you're actually anticipating them. There's a ton of like blockbusters that are supposed to come out this year that I probably won't see, so I didn't put them on my list. I totally get that. I think it's, movies in this day and age are in this really weird space of either being big show-stopping blockbusters or being super art house. We've kind of lost that middle section of in between movies that are kind of like, like we've lost our speeds, our matrixes. I mean, even though there was another Matrix movie that came out, we lost,
I think I don't know. I think we haven't lost them. I think they're just a little different.
Yeah, like, I think
House of Gucci kind of strikes me as that. Where it's definitely not art house. It's like they're just like
we've lost some accessibility to some of these movies, I think, too.
Yeah.
I think that's really the thing, because like if you don't have like every single streaming service, it's hard to find some of these movies. Like I just watched this great movie. It's not it's okay. It's called Ride the Eagle. It's starring Jake
Hmm.
Johnson.
Hmm.
You know, I've been wanting to watch it for like all of like 2021. Never got around to watching it because it's on Hulu, and I didn't get Hulu
Mm,
until last week. So like
yeah.
it was kind of difficult to watch it, and that's just kind of the world we live in. And like yeah, I mean also too, like I mean tastes change, man. Like Letterbox told me that pretty much all I watched last year was anime.
Yeah. No.
Like that was it.
Here's the thing. Something I've realized, and I'm just kind of thinking about this, is like it's really hard for me to watch a movie in some senses because it's like genuinely I sometimes don't feel like I can handle the tension.
Mm,
Like
yeah,
especially of an art house or complex film. Um
yeah,
especially one that I can't handle. I don't think I can handle like dark endings right now.
yeah. No, I
Like I
get
don't
you.
I don't think I can do that. Um and with a lot of the films that I used to really love, I had no guarantee of a happy ending. Um
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't, I don't blame you. Like we don't live in a very happy cinema kind of world right now. Like we're getting some of it, but it's mostly blockbusters, not like very. There are very. I think there are fewer and fewer indies that are like that. But
Ooh, the one I can think of was is recently Jane Austen's, yeah, Jane Austen wrote Pride and Prejudice and Emma, right? Right? I'm a little sleepy. I just need to remind myself
I want to say,
because if I'm wrong about this, I will feel horrible. Google, come
uh,
on, brain. I know you're right about this. No, just give me her
yes, it is Jane
bibliography.
Austen. It is Jane Austen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Sense and Sensibility,
Yes.
Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma. Yeah, Persuasion. Yeah. Um. Emma was adapted pretty recently, and that might be the closest to one
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed that adaptation. But like also after like Green Knight was like my step back into it, and I got like burned. You know, like
Yeah, it's a rough film. I watched it for a second time in theaters and it was rough.
yeah, yeah.
Um I think probably the last movie I saw in theaters was the new James Bond.
Oh, I saw that pretty. I saw that too. I did not enjoy that movie.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
No, no, it's not. It's actually I don't really think there's anything wrong with it as far as a Bond film goes.
Right.
Um, but I wow, I'm just airing all of like the things that I'm sensitive lately about is guns. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
like guns have started making me more and more uncomfortable. Like we got out of the movie and Gracie looked over me and was like, "You okay?" Like you were just tense, like halfway through the movie, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just been like kind of yeah,
Oh, I
it's
mean,
odd.
yeah, it's definitely a lot. Um Man, okay. Well, I have some recs that I'll rec to you off mic after we go through these that might scratch that itch that might be a little less stressful to watch. Cuz like I definitely feel you on the stressful movies. Yeah, I mean like when I moved to LA, I stopped watching action movies for about 2 years cuz I like witnessed a really bad car accident. And so it was like any sort of action movie, like I couldn't like for me it's like the sound effects, and I think the Bond film definitely it really messes with the sound, so I totally get why they mess with the sound to make it more tense. And so I totally get that. But let's hop into our top 5 anticipated movies of 2022. Um I'll go first if you don't mind.
Do it. Yeah.
This is a movie that I really want you to watch. Mostly because like we love some other work. This movie is called Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's going to be playing um, at South by Southwest this year, and it
Mm.
is stars Michelle Yeoh as a Chinese American woman who sets off on a mundane task, finishing her taxes, and ends up traversing the multiverse.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
actually saw a trailer for that and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, that's huh.
yeah.
Huh." Like
It's
this looks bonkers,
it
like
is bonkers. Yeah, and it's by
honestly,
the Daniels.
nice.
They
Okay.
did they did Interesting Ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think with that I may want to get it spoiled for me and then go see it. Um
I
y-
mean,
Here's the
spoilers
thing.
enhance the experience.
Yeah, okay, here's the thing. I don't know about you, but I do not give shit about spoilers at all. At all. Like
I use the phrase "to each their own" when it comes to spoilers. I think if the movie is, like I'll put it this way: if I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones, I want to know how it ends before I watch it. If I'm gonna watch like some indie road movie, I don't want to know how that ends. You know what I mean?
I could
Like,
see that. I'm here's my feeling about it. If if a movie is no longer enjoyable at all because you know what's coming, that's not a good movie. That means
yeah,
there's something wrong with it structurally. You know,
yeah,
there's not enough meat, right? Like the biggest twist in cinema history, everyone knows. Vader is Luke's father. Everybody knows that. It does not
yeah.
make Empire Strikes bad that everybody knows that,
Oh, that is a great point. That
right?
is a great point. Well,
Or like to go back to anime, like most anime is also manga,
yeah.
and I almost exclusively read and then go watch after. So it's like I don't know, I am not surprised about what's happening in Demon Slayer right now at all. I'm just not because I'd already read it, but it's fucking rad. So yeah, um, that's the trailer for that movie looked just really cool, and it looked like the sort of thing where I was like, depending on how this goes, I might not want to see it for those like tension, like all those reasons. But if I could find out and then see it, like just the spectacle and like fascination, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, everything everywhere all at once, playing at South by, which is probably going to be virtual. So if you can get tickets, get tickets. But what's your what's your
Number
film, Dane?
five, number
Yeah,
five, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Um,
nice.
Second multiverse movie. Hey, hey. Um,
Yeah, I will say, don't spoil Spider-Man for me because I have not seen it yet.
I really enjoyed. I did enjoy that.
You did enjoy it? Okay, that's good to
Yes,
hear. I've heard really great things.
yeah. Um,
This is the Raimi one, right? The Doctor
no,
Strange one is the Raimi one.
I don't know. I don't know who's directing this one. I don't. Rarely do I concern myself with who's directing a Marvel film.
Fair.
Um, I have a soft spot for Doctor Strange in particular. Um, with similarly, I have a soft spot for the Atom from DC. I have a
Oh,
soft spot for actual medical doctors who become superheroes. Um,
huh.
just due to my own history with medical stuff. So
Oh,
I really enjoyed the first Doctor Strange. I thought it was like kind of underrated. I actually enjoy Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's like very witty and funny, and I enjoyed watching him. I also know I'm gonna have a kick-ass time because Gracie's like arguably, definitely in the top three favorite superheroes is Scarlet Witch. So any movie that's gonna have her, she's gonna have a great time. So looking forward to that.
very fun.
Yeah.
Very fun. Okay, my number 4, I guess,
Yep.
is Belle, which is the new Mamoru Hosoda film. He did Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Wolf Children, Boy and the Beast, Mirai, Summer Wars. It's a film about a high school student that becomes a globally beloved singer after entering a fantastic virtual world.
Huh.
It's like Beauty and the Beast meets video games, and it's they're mixing like 2D 3D animation. He also did a bunch of the Digimon movies back in the day. Um, so like, yeah, I love a lot of his work. His work struck me at a time when I really needed it, and so I think I'm a
Mhm.
little biased in that regard. Um, but knowing his films, I think you should 100% go see Belle because I have a feeling it'll have a great ending. Um, have you
Nice.
seen any of his other work?
No.
Oh man, you might like a lot of his work. I would recommend all his movies to you.
Okay.
Uh,
You're gonna have to make me
yeah,
a list. You're gonna have
I
to
will
make me
make
a
you a
list.
list. Yeah, I'll make you a list and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, what's your number 4?
Uh, we're going for multiverse movie number 3.
Ooh,
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's right. That's coming out this year.
yeah, it is.
Oh,
First Spider-Verse movie was just so fucking good.
yeah,
I will defend that movie every day to my dying breath. Beautiful, fantastic fucking movie. That one. So I'm ready for another. It does not. It does not have to be as good. Like it just doesn't, and I don't know if it will be. I think it'd be very hard to do that, but I'm just in. I'm in. I'm in just even for the art style alone. You know.
yeah. No, yeah, 100%. I didn't realize that was coming out this year. That's great.
Yep.
I'm very excited now.
Yeah.
uh man, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yep. Okay, so our
Okay.
number 3 is shared
Number
though,
3,
right?
yes. Our number 3 is shared because we both talked about our lists. Well, we both talked about my list very briefly, which to see if there was any overlap. And sure enough, there is one overlap, which is Thor, Love and Thunder. Our boy Taika Waititi coming back
Yep.
to direct a fourth Thor movie.
Wait, hold. Oh no, he didn't do all four. He just did the last
No, yeah,
these past two.
yeah. Sorry, yeah. He's coming back for his second Thor movie, the fourth in the series, which is wild. I think it's the only Marvel. I think it's one of the only Marvel of like the individual superhero like trilogies to have a fourth.
It is, I think so, because Iron Man only went to 3, Cap only went to 3,
Yeah,
uh,
Doctor Strange is on what, 2 or
2.
3, and then
That's
Ant Man's on
2.
2. Um, Spider Man went to 3.
Spider Man went to 3.
Yeah, so it's the only one to go to 4.
Guardians is going to 3. Yeah, the
Yep.
only other Marvel property that went to 4 is the Avengers.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm really excited. I don't think we need to say much more about it other than Natalie Portman's back
yeah,
and Jamie Alexander is back as well. So like a lot of fan favorites returning to the movie, and Taika's one of my favorite directors.
yeah, yeah.
So
The stuff
like
that man touches is gold.
yeah, so like I'm gonna that one's a pretty no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna see
Mm-hmm.
that, and I'm sure you will see that as well.
Oh yeah.
um, yeah.
On to number 2.
Yeah. On to number 2. What's your number 2? We'll flip it.
Oh, we'll flip it. Yeah, Wakanda Forever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
That's
here's
also
the
coming out this year.
as far as I understand, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So many
yeah, yeah.
Marvel movies coming out this year. I did not realize that.
Yeah. And so like that's the thing is that like that's what Gracie and I mostly go and see in the theaters.
I
You know?
mean, good
And
movies to go
so
see in the theaters.
they're fun. Yeah. It's a little different. Yeah, I Black Panther is probably my very favorite um uh in the MCU at least, like absolute
Hmm.
favorite. And as a character, and the movie was amazing. Um, I was genuinely heartbroken when everything came out about Chadwick Boseman and what he did,
Yeah.
and how hard he worked to deliver something um, so iconic.
Yeah.
And I'm just I know it won't be that again, and I know it won't be the same, but I am excited to see more of that. And frankly, more Afrofuturist shit. I'm in. I'm in. You know,
Yeah. And
just
Ryan, I think it's Ryan Coogler who's
I
directing.
I think so.
Um,
I think so.
and Ryan Coogler is fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's also one of my favorite. Yep, he's directing and he's writing. That's great. Yeah, he's
Nice.
he's he's one of my favorite directors. So,
All right, you're
yeah,
number 2.
my number 2 is After Yang by Kogonada. Um, it's an art house film. It's a real art house film. It's playing at Sundance, and
Mm.
I'm gonna try and get tickets to watch it virtually. But it's basically it stars. It's about like a like an AI android that abruptly stops malfunctioning, and um, people are uh, trying to get him to. They're like trying to fix him basically.
Mm.
And it's Kogonada did Columbus, which starred John Cho. That was like an indie art house film a few years ago. And this new film has Justin H. Min in it, and he is most notably known as being number 6 from the TV show The Umbrella Academy.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
he's fantastic. I'll watch anything with him in it. So yeah, that's my number 2. And what's your number 1?
Whatever you released this year.
Oh,
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I was like, honestly, as far as like straight up movies go, what I am the most interested in seeing is whatever you make. Cuz that is, it's a movie. It counts. So, yeah,
yeah.
that's
I mean, you're right.
yeah, of
Wow. Oh man, I'm really humbled. Thank you, man.
course.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now don't disappoint me.
yeah. No, I mean, I don't think my number 1 can compete with that. But my number 1, uh, r- I'll go over it real quick, and then we can hop back to making movies and talking about movies in theaters versus art house movies because that's a really interesting conversation. But
Mhm.
there's another Taika film called Next Goal Wins. It's a sports movie about the American Samoa national football team that is
Nice.
like it's basically like any sports movie. They're trying to get to the World Cup, and it's supposed to come out last year. It didn't. They did reshoots in December, so I'm hoping it
Mhm.
comes out this year. We'll see. But to that point, I think it's interesting that it's interesting how like you as more of a film consumer these days,
Mhm.
all your anticipated films for the most part are big blockbusters, right?
Yeah.
And then you have one film that is, of course, like a film by a friend who is, a quote unquote indie filmmaker, right?
Mhm.
And then if you look at all my films, there's only one real like big blockbuster. Well, I guess maybe two. And then everything else is kind of like indie films made by directors whom I really admire and
Yeah.
I really like their work. And I feel like we're in this weird phase of filmmaking where, in a lot of ways, like kind of why like people like YouTubers, right? Like sometimes we like a person's work more than we like their work, you know? And I think that's become
Yes.
increasingly more divisive within the film community. And that's contributed to a huge part of why like I think it's become a lot harder to watch indie films and art house films because if you don't know who the person is, if you don't know who's in the movie, and you don't really if the trailer doesn't really give you anything that's like at least going to make you feel excited about it,
Mhm.
it can be really difficult to convince yourself to go watch it because like unlike a YouTube or like even like a podcasting medium, there's a little bit more of a separation from artist and consumer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's yeah, and I think that's something that I haven't quite like decoded how to work around that, but like I think that is a contributing factor to why movies are very different now than they were like in the 90s.
Yes. I will also add that it's really hard to over or understate the Marvel effect.
Yeah.
Um I will okay, so here's my take on this. As someone who consumes film, I basically, it's always an event for me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, it
Yeah.
is not like Gracie likes movies, watching movies at home. I do not. And something I realized over time is that I never have. Um, I've never been a huge fan of like if I was bored, even during like the most film heavy days for me, I wouldn't pop a movie in. That's not what I would do. Um, if I would watch a movie at your place. I would watch a movie at our my friend Dalton's place. I would go to the movie theater all the fucking time.
Right.
Going to a film festival, I would adore doing that. Um, and the thing I will say about you and your work is that's an event for me. It's a very small, very private event, but it is always very special because for me, I can be like, I'm watching this thing and I have this like weird insight into how this got made, even though I know nothing about how it actually got made, because I can picture you talking to someone on the other side of the camera. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's always an event for me. So it doesn't, I'm not looking for a specific film, right?
Right.
Like,
It's the process of going to the movies.
yeah, like these are like all of the movies I am like looking forward to for themselves. I'm kind of going to put yours aside because it's kind of its own special category. But the other four, like, I'm like, yeah, I really liked Spider Man into the Spider Verse. I have a soft spot for Doctor Strange. You know, Black Panther and Wakanda, that's really important. Thor Love and Thunder, that's probably going to be pretty fucking like off the walls and fun. But Um, on the other hand, if someone was adapting Persuasion by Jane Austen, I think that would pop up onto the list and knock any of them out. Not because any particular love or hate for either movie necessarily, um, but because what it really is I just basically told everyone some of the best dates I'm gonna have this year with Gracie, right? Like
Hmm.
that's sort of what these are for me. And maybe someday in realizing this, I should go back to film festivals if I want to see films like that again. Um, but it's a thing. It's not the art form, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's definitely something that we're definitely struggling to hold on to, I think, in the industry, you know,
Hmm.
as like a form of practice. Like something that I always get reminded of is like when you're making a movie, think about how it's going to project on a big screen. And I don't think necessarily a lot of folks think about that unless they're like really, really hoping that they'll play at a festival, right?
Yeah,
And, it's partially because of, the technology switch, right? Partially.
sure.
The other mode of it is just like content today is so much more consumable and in a lot of ways disposable.
Yeah,
And movies, you know, a disposable movie does not sit well with anyone. And I think
no.
like that's probably why, I mean, that is why Marvel movies do so well, is because they don't feel disposable. There's so much, there is so much leading up to it that makes it so much fun to
Hmm.
watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think about that a lot, and I think that was a really good point that you brought up today. It's something I was not expecting for us to talk about, but I think I thought it was going to be like a usual listicle episode, but no, we ended up getting into some real deep stuff about the industry that I work in, and
I
the
want to
industry
talk
of
about
which
it
like
more.
what?
I want to talk about it more.
Yeah, no, we should do another episode just about this stuff because it's like it's I think it's interesting because like you have like almost everyone in today's age has latent film knowledge on how to make a
Hmm.
movie, and I
Hmm.
think that's a really big contributor to why people go watch movies versus just straight up like seeing a trailer and being really enticed. Movie making isn't so mystical anymore. It's pretty tactile. It's something that like anyone can do. And I think that in a lot of ways makes it both harder to make movies, but also you can lean into that, right? There's a way to lean into it. It's why I think we see a lot more really, really, really big movies, and we see a lot more really, really, really tiny movies, because
Mm-hmm.
now those stories of like really big blockbusters, like the Lord of the Rings style movies, making it on the skin of their teeth, and indie filmmakers to making something really phenomenal with so little become like even more enticing, right? And
Yeah,
it's like a
yeah.
narrative within a narrative, which is
I will
interesting.
I will say it does certainly feel like you either need to be on such a shoestring budget, like the Blair Witch Project,
Yeah.
or Paranormal Activity, the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, we did this with $50,000 and made 100 million, or
Yeah.
you have to be Avengers Endgame, like with the budget and then the profits, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I feel
It's
like it's really hard to be a mid-range movie. I think that's
yeah,
really difficult.
yeah. We don't see a lot of those anymore, and a lot of those directors, like the Noah Baumbachs and the Wes Andersons, they're making those movies because they're well established.
Right. No, you either have to, if you're going to be that person, you have to be an auteur, basically.
Yeah,
You have to be a name.
exactly. And that's like a really, I think, it's an interesting space to navigate as a filmmaker coming up in this new era of very like even of sort of smaller, more finite pockets of where I can land, and knowing that I'm going to have a very different journey and trajectory than all these other folks, and trying to navigate that space.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think I want to sit on this topic and then come back to it, because as the year progresses, I know that we'll probably talk about whatever projects I'm working on, and we'll probably talk about whatever movies we've seen. I
Yeah.
know it's one of our ideas to go watch a movie and then immediately come back and record,
Yep.
which I think maybe we should do that for some of these Marvel movies, or
Yeah.
find like an indie film that is playing at like Alamo Drafthouse or something, because that could be a lot of fun. Or maybe I'll just visit and we can go watch the movie together.
Any number of things. We
Yeah,
will figure that out. No doubt
exactly.
about it.
Yeah. On a real lateral note, though, here's an indie
Mm.
movie that I'm excited for to watch, that I don't know when it's going to come out, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited that it's going to come out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Freddie Wong and Matt Arnold made an indie road trip an existential sci-fi road movie this
Huh.
past year, about a beekeeper and an EMT going to Seattle to go get a friend's car and a bunch of bees that got warped by a mysterious Cthulhu-like tentacle that is on Earth, that has made the world post-apocalyptic. And
Weird.
it's like part comedy, part drama, part rom-com. And if it's anything like their previous work, it's going to be this interesting blend of all these things that we love in movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm excited. Yeah.
You gotta let me know how that is.
Yeah. I will. I'm sure I will procure a copy for us to watch. Because, yeah. Anyhow, well, this was a really good episode.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. It was a good ep.
Good app. Good app.
Good app.
All right, that shit's
and,
back. I'm in.
Yeah, we're back, baby.
Mhm. Yep.
Alrighty, folks. You can follow the show at Dane and Derek. That's Dane, the letter N, and then Derek. Everywhere. We're on Twitter, Instagram. We don't really post there, but follow us. Maybe we'll post something funny. And then you can see what movies I'm making on my website, Benig-Aiello.com. There's a really great photo of me eating a sandwich on there, if
Nice.
that's more enticing than my movies.
You can find me at danewrites.com. There's links not only to my writing, which is on Substack, but to my podcast, to music, and my Twitter, which I don't remember the last time I went on that. That's a good thing. That feels good.
That's a really good thing.
But yeah, anyways, you can go find it all there.
Sounds good. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you all for hanging out with us this week, and we'll see you next time.
Catch you later.